You saw that he came into practice yesterday wearing an Egypt-inspired T-shirt because he really likes to be cryptic. It's like it kind of reminds me of the Phil Jackson Soul Patch, but that's a whole nother conversation. What are you hearing about Aaron Rodgers?
Back in the day, it was a nice little. It's like the only thing I can consistently grow is this right here.
And he loved to read The Power of Now. It was very moody with the Lakers back then, but that's a whole different conversation, one that should be discussed over drinks. What are you hearing about Aaron Rodgers? And then we'll talk about Hassan Reddick after that.
Aaron kind of is the new Zen master. I like that. I like that comparison. Yeah, I mean, I think that Rodgers, at this point, Aaron kind of, it feels like his entire life is trolling everybody who's not in his inner circle, which is a very small inner circle. So not ever speaking on exactly where he was, but then wearing an Egyptian shirt to the team facility, I'd say is basically par for the course. I haven't seen, it doesn't look like he's talked to the media at large yet. He was out on the practice field, saw the red zone was a little bumpy 2-of-7 passing in that today. It's the early stages of camp. Jets have a really good defense. Usually the defense is ahead of the offense. But, to go back to minicamp and not being there, it's exactly days like this that people are going to take those little pot shots in print or on TV or whatever and talk about, well, making up for lost time. This is, is it ultimately going to impact him in the season? I really don't think so. But it does impact just the way that everything is framed as we head into training camp here. This should be a really good Jets defense. The offense has a lot of weapons. They need time to coalesce. But, I happen to believe Garrett Wilson. I was at the game in Cleveland where he had a breakout type of performance going back where he played at Ohio State and was unbelievable in that game. This is a couple of seasons ago. You watch a performance like that, regardless of who the quarterback was. And I think it was Flacco took over in that game against the Browns. But you look at a guy like that, if Aaron Rodgers is out there, Garrett Wilson's going to take off the season. Aaron Rodgers being out there is going to open things up for Breece Hall. And Breece Hall in the running game for the Jets should take some things off of Aaron Rodgers' shoulders. The key in everything is going to be health. They invested in the offensive line. Rodgers, after what happened last year, playing 4 snaps and getting hit on 2 of them, is going to have to adjust his play style to a certain degree. He can't be the guy who's holding the ball and dancing around in the pocket and taking those hits because guess what? He's 39, going on 40 years old. You just can't do that at that age, especially a guy who's had, not just the Achilles last year, but he's had a variety of calf injuries. He's had multiple broken collarbones through the course of his career. You can't take those chances. They got a better backup quarterback than they did last time around. They brought in Tyrod Taylor. Tyrod is, and I don't know his record off the top of my head, but he's basically a 500 type quarterback in his career. He got the Bills to the playoffs back in 2017. So at least you have a fallback option. But if Aaron Rodgers goes down, the whole thing's over, Suzy. Like, let's just be honest about it. If he goes down in week 3, you're not running the table with Tyrod Taylor. Tyrod's there if Rodgers suffers a 2-week injury or a 4-week injury to keep this thing on the track. There's a lot of pressure on the Jets, but there's not as much pressure as a year ago because everything they've done up until the minicamp absence wasn't this public spectacle like it was last year with the trade and with Hard Knocks and him coming in and whipping the crowd into a frenzy here. They're, as much as a team with Aaron Rodgers in New York can be under the radar, they're like a little bit under the radar. But the moment they set foot on the field Monday night in week 1 against the 49ers, none of that stuff matters. And if they start 0-1 before a national audience, it's going to be exactly the pressure cooker that the Jets are always in.
All right. First of all, low key, low grade. I've never known a player to think he's trolling others when he's getting trolled at the same time. Like, I can't get over that. That's number 1. Number 2, do you think I'm crazy? Don't answer that. But don't you think that everyone's going to watch every single Aaron Rodgers game waiting to see whether he gets hurt? I feel like that might be the undercurrent of the season in a really weird way.
Well, I think that's definitely part of it. I think people are going to be watching Aaron Rodgers for a lot of different reasons. Aaron Rodgers is on that short list of players in the NFL right now who I feel like everyone has an opinion about him. And in a lot of cases, fair or not, it's a negative opinion just because of, things that he's said in the past, because he's kind of got, again, from the outside looking in, a lot of people think, he's got a lot of diva to him at this point and he's kind of on his own program and he's selfish and all that. Like I've known Aaron to the extent that anybody can know him going back to 2007 when I started out at the Green Bay Press Gazette. I've always found him to be a really intelligent, thoughtful guy who can explain things in football and life in unique ways. And when you really kind of peel back the layers and he's comfortable with you, you learn a lot talking to Aaron Rodgers. So, I think a lot of Aaron as a player, obviously a four-time MVP winner, he's a future Hall of Famer, and as a person. But, people are going to have opinions about him. There's absolutely no doubt about it. And again, Aaron he's been very tough throughout the course of his career, but that play style, that extending the plays inside and outside the pocket and taking hits and throwing off his back foot, he's going to have to rein some of that in. I know it's human nature in the big moments in the fourth quarter. Sure, try to make those throws. But first series against San Francisco, when you got Nick Bosa and Javon Hargrave and Fred Warner all coming after you. I mean, if I'm remember they got a new staff out there in San Francisco on defense. If I'm Nick Sorensen and Brandon Staley, Kyle Shanahan, like I'm dealing up blitz after blitz right out of the gate just to see, can this guy move? What's he going to do when we bring the pressure to him? That's historically been a dangerous thing to do with Aaron Rodgers because when he needs to get rid of the ball quickly, he's got this remarkable ability to see the field. He's got that really quick release that he honed over years working with Mike McCarthy in the Packers quarterback school here. But I'm heating him up. And exactly to your point, Suzy, forget the fans for a second here. If I'm other teams, I want to see how is this guy going to play? Is he going to be able to play? Not trying to hurt him, but let's force him into some spots where he's got business decisions that he has to make and see if he's still making the same decisions we saw in 4 snaps last season.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.